Welcome to the Inspiring Veterans Podcast with your host, Gary Rohmann. In each episode of the Inspiring Veterans Podcast, veterans coach Gary Rohmann invites veterans and professionals who support veterans to discuss the process of transitioning out of armed service into civilian society. The Inspiring Veterans Podcast aims to answer the question, what's next? You can find the show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, GaryRohmann.com. Now here's the host of the Inspiring Veterans Podcast, your host, Gary Rohmann.
Good day, everybody. Hope you're tuning in today. This is my third podcast on the subject of transitioning veterans. For the last 8 years, I've been heavily involved in the military community. I've facilitated transition workshops at a number of military installations throughout the country. I've done at least 300 workshops over that period of time and been very fortunate to have over 5,000 vets go through my classes. Today, I'm honored to have Zach Rivera on my podcast. And Zach has got a very distinguished career in the United States Army as a Green Beret. So, Zach, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Oh, good to be here, Gary. Good to be here. What a message for the world.
Well, Zach, I'll just give a little bit of background on how we met, and then I'm going to ask you that big old question. Tell me about yourself.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, so Zach and I, our paths crossed in 2019. Zach was in the process of transitioning out of the Army, and he was a member of the Honor Foundation. I think it was a class of 24, I believe, TH group. And so I was his coach at the Honor Foundation. I was honored to be his coach for 15 weeks, where we examine all aspects of transition and in hopefully preparing him and others for their transition out of the military. So, Zach, tell me what's going on with you, and tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 2019 sounds like so long ago, but I'll catch you all up. So I'm from Northern Illinois, and I joined the military right out of high school, joined the Army right out of high school. Initially, I joined as a mechanic. I thought I was going to do about 3 years, get out and go work on some diesel engines somewhere. But turns out the economy wasn't the best in about 2008, 2006. So I reenlisted and moved out to Colorado, worked with 10th Special Forces Group, and then fell in love with the Green Beret mission. Witness selection, failed the first time. Went and did it again the second time. And then, fast forward with another decade plus years, went to 5th Special Forces Group, started knocking out my college. Actually, they made us do college in the Q course. Thankfully, they did that. And then finished college some years after the Q course, after I got to Fort Campbell. I ended up being a Special Forces engineer. And then right around the year 2018, found out I was going to be medically retired. 2019, reached out to the Honor Foundation, and there wasn't any really facilities or campuses around us back then. So I had the pleasure of being in the first official virtual cohort. I think they did the pilot one first, and then it was us. So we were all over the place. But anyway, I reached out to the Honor Foundation and a couple other places to help prepare myself for the transition, as I knew I was moving back to Northern Illinois, which, a lot of people are probably thinking Chicago, and I do not live anywhere close to Chicago. So exact opposite, and probably a stone's throw away from Iowa and the Mississippi River. So pretty far out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, my family and I are up here. I know there's not a lot of economy, so it was a bit of a challenge. So the virtual world was my aiming point there. And then COVID happened as soon as I transitioned out. I think like that month when I got my first job, it happened. Everything locked down. Walked into my first career with a startup, my first job with a startup selling privacy. And then pivoted from that to a natural gas company, worked at the natural gas company as a quality assurance person for about 3 months, realized I hated being on the road, went back into the world of relationships and sales, worked at Project Management Institute for a few months, and then eventually landed at where I am now with ConnectAndSell as a customer success manager. And then I skipped some details along the way, but I do have 3 kids now. When I first left, I had 2, and then boom, got the post-military child, some free babysitters. My daughters are 16 and 15, and then my son is now 3. But yeah, my lovely wife and my family and I live up here, and we just living that Midwestern dream, you know?
That's outstanding. So I was just looking at your LinkedIn profile. Of course, I've got your resume. Maybe the one thing we ought to just explain a little bit is the Honor Foundation. There are probably a lot of individuals out there that have never heard of the Honor Foundation before. Like I said, Zach was a mentee, and I was his coach. That was in 2019. And I've been involved with the Honor Foundation for about 8 years. So I started maybe a year after it basically was established. And now they actually, Zach, I'm sure you know this, they got an Honor Foundation in the Nashville area based with Fort Campbell or close in Nashville, but they have set up a site there. Tell me, if you would, share about your experience in the Honor Foundation.
It was quite the experience. It was a roller coaster of emotions, and I am extremely grateful for being able to be a part of that, especially early on, being the first virtual cohort. It was quite a challenge when you're in the military and you got your mindset and you're like, I'm going to stay in here, I'm going to make it a career, I'm going to follow through, I'm going to go the full 20. I got everything lined up. I'm living the dream. I'm a Green Beret. What more? I'm traveling the world, doing fun things. And then one day you realize that's going to end. You have to get out. And so you're scrambling. I was scrambling. Thankfully, the Honor Foundation helped me out. And I was like, oh, okay, it's transition assistance. Great. Awesome. Grant. I'm not really sure what that means, but getting into it, boy, was it a roller coaster and a fire hose of information. And then really take you from the ground up. And it's a lot of military people through that. But it's also a gentleman's course, rather, and it's all on you, on what you want it to be. If you want something out of it, then you got to put it in. So it really does sort of prepare you for the endeavors in the military world. And there's just a lot of great people there supporting you, people like yourself, right? Coaches that get assigned to you throughout your whole tenure there. And then you can maintain that relationship afterwards, which we did for quite some time. But that coach is more or less responsible for keeping your azimuth in check and making sure you know exactly how to navigate out of it. Then there's tons of resources available for jobs and alumni and everything like that. But it was great. And I think a couple of my career paths were because of the Honor Foundation as well.
Again, it's, the Honor Foundation was a spinoff of the Navy SEAL Foundation, and it's open to anybody that served in special forces in the military. So we have Army Green Berets, Marine Raiders, Navy SEALs. We have Air Force Special Forces as well. So anybody that served in Special Forces or was what we call, I guess, enablers that supported Naval Special Forces combat assignments are admitted to it's a 15-week program. For those military professionals out there, you probably recall you went through transition readiness program, which is a 3-day preparation for your civilian career. This is a 15-week program, and it's much more in depth, but we cover all the main aspects of transition. And really, I think, is it fair to say, Zach, that before Honor Foundation, you really knew what your mission was? You were out there to take care of the enemy, in essence. Oh, yeah. Now, as you were getting out, you had to identify your new mission, right?
Yes, and that was quite the challenge, identifying, and it's your mission, right? So you choose what your mission is. You know what the end state is. You know what you have to achieve, right? You got to be able to put some food on the table for your family. But it's that mission of how you get there.
And that's your mission while you're in the military. It doesn't get any more challenging and rewarding as what your mission was. I mean, you're the best in many ways, and you're in the forefront of what's going on with the bad guys, and it's very rewarding. And now you have to look at your new mission and find out, the passion or the energy that you once devoted to your mission has to change a little bit, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
And so, as I work with veterans, and as I said, over the last 8 years, it's amazing that 75% of veterans say that transition was harder than they expected. Would you agree with that stat?
I would like to meet the other 25% because I think they're faking the funk on that one, Gary. But it was very hard, very, very challenging. Still is, but making the best.
What would you say was your biggest challenge?
You can do anything. So when someone says you can do anything, trying to find that thing is the hardest part, because that's one path out of all of these millions of options across the whole world, digitally, in person, remote, anything. It's hard.
So, yeah, you've developed so many skills, and that's what a lot of veterans don't totally understand. You've got more skills, and your depth of experience is so significant that you have a lot of choice about the careers you can go into. And a lot of veterans get out and they think, I only know how to do one thing, whatever that is. But it takes time to identify, that career or that profession that you want to go into, because you have so much choice and you're trying to make sure you utilize your skills for the career that provides you the most reward, you might say, and however you see that. So I was just, again, you started out, it looks like you have a tremendous background. I looked at, I was always amused. You went into sales, and was my career before I started coaching. And I also noticed you got your certification from Sandler during the COVID. So
Yes.
that you indicated you were very serious about pursuing a sales career.
I was very serious about it. In fact, with the Honor Foundation, right in the beginning, and a couple of other places as well, we did these character sort of aptitude tests, and out of that, it's like, hey, here's where your strengths are right now at this moment in time. Here's the careers that you would succeed at based off of your aptitude. Sort of like what you do to come into special operations, right? You take the test and like, oh, you're awesome. You're going to be an engineer. It's like, no. I want to be the weapons guy. And they're like, no, be the engineer. Anyway, the same thing when you get out. They were like, no, business development, sales, relationship management. Like that's your forte. Go after it. Go forward. Do great things. Other than selling the American ideas of freedom, I had no idea what really that meant. So I leaned on Sandler, and I really loved my coach that I had through Sandler. Great guy, but Sandler's not cheap. So you have to be 100% invested in Sandler if you're going to make it work. And then when I was working at that startup, I was the first official sales guy there to start it up. And it was quite a challenge. COVID came in 2 weeks. They locked down everything 2 weeks after I accepted the job offer. So now I'm looking at a remote world where no one's at the office answering their phones, and you have that fantastic thing. In fact, I had such a bad experience at my first go around. I was like, I'm never doing it again. Never going to do sales again. And I stepped away from it for about 3 months, and then immediately went back into the sales and relationship and customer management at that point. And then I still am here, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I love it.
So you've been working with ConnectAndSell almost a little over, looks like almost 2 years, and you're the manager. Do you have to manage a sales team?
I manage a series of accounts. So at any point, I have about 50 accounts. So I'm what they call a customer success manager. So it's basically post-sales. So you got pre-sales, sales, and post-sales. So after the sales director has sold to the customer, and I know you understand sales a little bit, maybe I'll educate some other people out there, because there's more than just, when we say sales, there's different phases of the sales relationship. So after the sales director sells to the customer, we onboard them, I onboard them, and then I own that relationship for their tenure at our company, and I help ensure that they are successful. And yes, that does involve growth, scaling, renewals, all of that fun stuff. But it's more of the post-sales side.
Nothing like repeat customers, right? And you make that happen, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's where it's all at. It's easier to keep them than it is to go find them, they say. But yeah, it's great. I get to interact with, at any given time, 50 different customers. And the good thing about where I work at ConnectAndSell, all of my customers are salespeople, because we help salespeople sell faster. That's it.
Well, I may need to introduce you to some of the companies I work with, man. Sounds like you could. I mean, it's amazing. When I was in sales, I used to live by this statement that people do not like to be sold, but they love to buy, and they buy from people they trust. And that's the key. That's the key to being a successful sales professional. But, unfortunately, as I see it, maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me, but a lot of salespeople looking for that immediate return, and they don't see it as a lifelong relationship that takes a lot of investment of time and effort to bring that individual to where they trust them and they will not buy from anybody else except them, right?
Well, this is kind of going through my mind as you're talking about this, and I'm going back to the last 25 plus years of war, and most of the people that are exiting have been, in the military, deployed several times at war. But what are they trying to do? They're trying to go forward with their partner force or into that host nation, or whatever you want to call it, right? And they're trying to create trust, so that that person comes to us, that company comes to us, those soldiers, that local national force, that keep coming back to us. So we're doing sales. That's it. You're not having a goods for money kind of exchange, but it is all relationship-based, trust-based transaction. You get the trust from that person, they don't shoot you in the back. It's kind of different scenario in the world here now in tech sales. I don't think you're going to get shot in the back, but you create the trust and they stay your customer. People buy from people they like.
Yeah, you don't go to combat not trusting the person on your side, left or right, right? It's important to have ultimate trust in the people you go to war with. So that's a critical factor. And just like in the military, same thing in, I think, corporate America. And I think that's where leaders sometimes don't do a very good job of building trust with their employees.
Yeah. And sales should be a team event, can be a team event, right? Just like when you're in the military, people don't want to go to, it's just me. I'm out there doing my sales. I don't want to, it's not a team event. I'm just by myself. It's cutthroat. It doesn't have to be that way. Teamwork makes the dream work.
So tell me, Zach, do you miss the military?
Every single day.
Every single day, man.
Yeah, without hesitation, every single day. Yeah. But you know what I do like, though? I do like being home to take care of my yard and see my kids every single day. My family every single day. Tuck my kids in every single night. I get 8-9 hours of sleep every night now. It's amazing. I've never been able to do this before. I don't have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning unless I want to go hunting or something. I'm just hang out and relax and make my coffee and enjoy life. Take it slow.
Well, I noticed, again, one of the things we worked on when we went through the Honor Foundation, you recall developing your why statement, correct?
I
Which,
do recall the why statement development. Yeah, very emotional time.
so I saw it. I think I got it right here. My focus is empowering others to live a better tomorrow. Is that it?
That's pretty close. Yeah, I think I fine-tuned it a couple times since coming out of the cohort, but yeah, that is it.
So one of the things, again, I'm looking for your feedback, but see, it's amazing when people that have been in the military, whether it's 5 years or 20 years, we bring them into a transition class for 3 days, and we expect you to know how to exactly go about your resume, building a resume. We ask you to build a resume without knowing what you're going to do. That's almost impossible, right? And that's what brings about the frustration. But at the Honor Foundation, we spent almost 2 weeks on developing your why statement. And I'll never forget some of the initial reactions about it. And you said, "Where's this going? Where is this going?" But, in the end result, it provided a lot of good insights into your future careers.
And if I look at what I'm doing now, the reason why I'm here and why I keep doing what I'm doing is because I get to empower others so that they can have a better impact on tomorrow and for themselves. Like that's what I do all day, every day. I help other people still so that they can make more money to help their needs, help their families, help themselves, help their company. It's great. I love it.
And I think the one I should have read earlier, they kind of go together, but helping others to solve problems so they can maximize potential.
Yeah, still doing it.
And that's another thing I think is taking the initiative, being willing to help others, and so they can maximize their potential. And I don't see, again, from where I sit in corporate America, that's another big gap that's professionally that I think is missing in corporate America. And it all comes from basically your experience in the military.
Yes, 100%.
So the other thing that I noticed is I was looking at your profile. You got a great profile, by the way, Zach.
Honor Foundation helped me set it up. I'm just maintaining it at this point.
Under looking at your certifications, the one I saw that caught my eye, Wicked Problem Solving Practitioner.
Yep. Yes.
Is that a real certification?
It sure is. It sure is.
Yeah.
Through Project Management Institute, or PMI. Yeah, Project Management Institute. So when I was there, I was able to take certificates for free. Now I only spent about 9 months at PMI before I jumped over to the current place. Nothing against PMI, but there was just some. My boss passed away about 6 months into it. I actually fell over in his apartment, hit his head on his toilet. 35 years old, done. So life's very unpredictable, right? You never know when it's going to come up and get you. But that kind of took me back. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and it got on shaky ground at PMI. So I moved. But anyway, the point was I could take any certificate that I could. And for years, when I went to college, actually one of my college classes was Wicked Problem Solving. And I actually have the book somewhere around here for Wicked Problem Solving. And I love the idea of wicked problem solving, right? Because there's no right answer. It doesn't matter which way you go. There's going to be pain in either direction. It's a wicked problem. There's no real clear answer. And that was back in like 2016. I took that class, and I sat on that and I soaked on it for a few years. I was like, man, this is crazy. This is a real thing. Wicked problem solving is a real thing, and I had it in my resume. I talked to people about it. They're like, oh, I love that. That's interesting. And then I ended up at PMI, and I took the course, and I became certified in it. And they were like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Now I'm actually certified in what I've been talking about for years.
Well, and again, I guess, when I first worked on your resume with you, and now I've gone back and review it after 5 years, and You have a depth of experience, as you alluded to, in project management, logistics, contractor maintenance. But what point came? Well, I didn't notice it last time, but you've conducted over 2,000 meetings to influence multi-tiered stakeholders to promote operational improvements. That's a lot of meetings.
A lot of meetings, a lot. And that was back then. I'm in 20 hours of Zoom meetings a week now. So let's go ahead and 3x that number.
Well, it takes a team to get to where you want to go. Were these individual, other contractors, foreign governments? Were they?
It was all of the above.
All the above.
All of the above. Yeah. So there was internal people that I would meet with. So the whole thing is, I don't know everything. I can't solve everything. I need help, right? So I go and I seek the help, and I bring in stakeholders and I help them figure out what we're going to do. And that was how I approached things in the military. That's why I was such an asset. Not to toot my own horn, but I would go out and seek these people, and I would come get them together at the table, and we would figure it out together. And I would do that regularly with our internal stakeholders, meaning like U.S. people, whether it was Army or civilian. And then I would also do that externally with either a partner force or village elders or somebody else that I was going to interact with, or even just foreign militaries, foreign politicians, foreign anything. But yeah, that tied over.
So how many times did you deploy?
7 deployments.
And they were what, about 6 to 9 months long?
Yeah, I think the longest was 9 months and the shortest was 2 or 3.
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
Then every time we deployed overseas, we'd come back home, and then we would deploy somewhere to the United States and go do something out in Arizona, Washington, or something.
So let me ask you, as we get to the end here, but if you were giving, what would you say to a transitioning veteran today that's still in the military? What would you recommend that some of the things that they pay attention to as they continue to develop their plan? What would be at the top of your maybe top 3 items or top 5 items? What would they be?
Talk to everyone and keep track of who you're talking to. That's number 1. Keep track of that. Develop a book, develop a spreadsheet, do something, put a CRM on your phone. Keep track of those people. They're very important people. They set aside time to help you, and you're going to want to keep in contact with them and reach out every so often, tell them thank you. And then 2, give yourself some credit. You are a person with an identity and a personality. We tend to kind of retract into our shell in the military. We have all of these skills and aptitudes, and if we pair that with our actual selves, and we come out of that shell as we're transitioning out of the military, and we smile and wave and shake hands and enjoy life and let people know that we are a friendly person, that's going to take you a lot further than any piece of paper will.
Well, those are great. I believe people in our network are key to our future. There's so much change in the workforce today. We're having a lot of, unfortunately, we're during economic hardships, inflation's high and so forth, and companies cut back. You never know when that might hit you. And plus, artificial intelligence is impacting jobs right and left. And so your network, the people you meet and know, that's your safety net to your professional future that you can call upon, and it will help you connect the dots. And I think that's really a very important strategy. And I think you hit on the other one too. You got to know how to meet people. You got to have a good presentation about yourself. You got to know how to connect in a way that they will remember you. So you've hit on some very key things. I think I would totally agree with you. And I want to thank you as I've sent you some
Absolutely. We're still on the same team. I'll do whatever I can to help whoever I can, however I can.
So right now, career's good, family's good, health is good, I assume, but everything is moving in the right direction, right?
Everything is moving in the right direction. There's obviously speed bumps along the way, but that's life. It would be extremely boring if it was just straight and smooth and there was no wind blowing in your hair. You need a little bit of turbulence in there just to help you appreciate what's going on. But yeah, everything's good. Everything's real good.
Well, Zach, it's been an honor to have a chance to catch up with you, and I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. I count you as a dear friend, and I'm here whenever, and I know I can always reach out to you because that's just the type of person you are. So thanks once again for your time, and I'm here always.
I appreciate it, Gary. You're an outstanding person.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks. Cheers.
You've been tuning into the Inspiring Veterans Podcast with your host, Gary Rohmann. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, GaryRohmann.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.